You're right there, guys. This is Play the Corby Way. Just thought we'd do a World of Tanks overview. So, as you can see, we're just in the garage at the minute, and just looking for all the interface and all that sort of thing. These are the options to upgrade your tank, which you'll need to do if you want to progress in the game, really. And then you just press battle and it takes you into the game. So I thought we'd go through all the different types of tanks there are. You've got light tanks, which you're basically a scout and you're providing the eyes and ears of the team. So basically that means you're really agile. So the objective when you're using a light tank would be to spot the enemy and then obviously let your team know where they are, and then obviously duck back into cover quickly just to make sure you don't get hit, because you don't really have that much armour. And one of the tips that's on the website is to always keep moving due to low armour. So basically, say you've got a tank destroyer trying to chase you, you won't be able to keep up with how quick you are. So realistically, the more you keep moving, the less chance they've got of hitting you, unless obviously they anticipate where you're going to move, and then they can obviously move their aim to try and reach you, but it's very unlikely they'll be able to catch you, put it that way. Then the next one that there is a medium tank, which you can get a wide variety of armour, speed and firepower, so it's always good to check the stats. You do that by just like clicking on the certain tank and like hovering over it, and then it will show you how fast it is, how much firepower, like damage and penetration it's got, and obviously the armour, etc. And the tip on the website of the official World of Tanks website is to pair up with another medium tank to take on heavy tanks, because obviously, well, we'll get onto heavy tanks in a minute, but it wouldn't be a good idea just listening to the names of the type of tanks to go up against them, really. So you're better off just teaming up with another person, whether that be your mate or just put in the chat to someone that you're in a medium tank and you want to team up. So then moving on to heavy tanks, you've got obviously more powerful guns than a medium and light. However, you've got less speed, so obviously you need to pick your cover well and pick your time to make your move. However, you do have more armour. Now, in terms of the armour, your tip is to not show your weak spots, which is the back of your tank and the side of your tank. So always face the person you're trying to obviously destroy, just to give you the best chance of, even if they hit you, you'll probably still end up getting them if you've upgraded your tank well enough. And then you've got a tank destroyer, that's the next type. So basically, to sum it up, you're basically a long range sniper. So realistically, you've got to find a good hiding spot, because obviously they're not exactly the quickest, and the aim on them is very limited, like when you're scoped in. So you obviously need to work out, like as soon as one of the light tanks, if they've done the job and spotted someone, then obviously it's your job to take them out realistically, because the light tanks would have done their job. So you could either team up with another tank destroyer or obviously a heavy tank, and then sit at the back and pick off the enemies that people have spotted. So a good tip, there's two tips that are on the website. It says hit and run, so obviously if you hit an enemy and they're in like a faster tank than you, it's good to like move back into cover or move into a different like area of cover, because once they know where you are, obviously they've got the speed on you. so you just got to be careful really. And just the same as the heavy tanks, keep the front of your tank towards enemies because that's where most of your armour is. So that's them. And then there is an SPG type of tank, which is self-propelled guns. That's what that stands for. Now you've got very thin armour, but you've got immense firepower. So what you need to do is obviously try not to get hit, but you should be able to inflict a lot of damage on your opponent. And you should stick to defending the base. Like, these are the tips that are on the website. I'll put the website link into the description for you, so you can just go through and have a look through. So yeah, you got to stick to defending the base realistically, because you don't have a great amount of speed or a great amount of armor. So your job is just to defend your flag basically. And also there's a long reload time with this tank, so you got to pick your shots really carefully, because obviously if you miss them with all that firepower you've got, then it's going to take a long time for it to reload. So you'll need to obviously wait for that, and by the time it's reloaded you could be destroyed. Now there's different nations which these tanks, like every nation has got a tank of each type, more than one usually, and obviously there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, etc. So obviously you'll just get them through time, and obviously playing the game, because you get experience which you use to upgrade your tanks. There is also a premium feature which obviously you'll put money into, but some people don't want to do that, and at the end of the day it is a free to play game if you want it to be. So if you play it enough you can compete with the people that are paying, but obviously the higher tier you get, the more difficult it gets, which is fair enough, I suppose. So anyway, back onto the nations. There are American tanks, obviously from America. There is Soviet tanks, or Soviet, German tanks, French tanks, British tanks, and Chinese tanks. Now, I don't know whether the nations actually have an effect on how good the tanks are from that nation. Obviously you'll have to check that out. Like, probably what you've been seeing in this bit of gameplay is really exactly not how to play the game, because I do get destroyed a fair few times. However, I do get a bit of damage on some people, so I just thought I'd do an overview while there's a bit of gameplay in the background. Then there's all the different types of game modes. There's like standard battle, which is 15 vehicles to each team, and your objective then is to capture the enemy base or destroy all the enemies. So basically with that you've got a flag at each side of the map, and obviously you start at yours and the opponent start at theirs. So you've either got to capture theirs, which I think it's out of 100, like 100 seconds or something I think it takes, obviously depending on how many people you've got in there. The more you've got, the quicker it goes up. Or you can just choose to destroy all the enemies. So going back to the types of tank, if you had a light tank you'd obviously go for the first objective, which is to capture the enemy base. And if you was in something like a SPG or a tank destroyer or a heavy tank, you'd probably sit back and defend your own base. Then there is another game mode called Assault, which is 15 vehicles once again, where one team defends a base, so there'll only be one base, and the other team has to destroy all the enemy tanks, or they can choose to capture the enemy base. Now there is a time limit in this game mode. That time limit is 10 minutes, so obviously you don't have much time. So realistically you all need to get in there and probably have a lot more sort of light medium tanks, and then just a couple or 3 or 4 of the SPGs, heavy tanks or tank destroyers, just to, well, realistically you got nothing to defend, so you could all go all guns blazing, so to speak. Then there is another game mode called Encounter Battle, which is 15 vehicles again. There is a single neutral base, and none of the two teams start at a base. It will just be in the middle somewhere, I'm guessing. I haven't actually played this one, so I can't speak from personal experience. All of the all of the gameplay bits you're seeing while you're watching this are just standard battles. So yeah, there's a single neutral base, 15 vehicles, and then the team that destroys all enemies or captures the base wins. And there's also another time limit on that, which is 15 minutes. So yeah, just a little bit about my personal experience of the game. I think it's a great game personally. Like, there's a few things that are wrong with it, obviously. So now I just thought we'd quickly go through a few of the frequently asked questions that are on the World of Tanks website. One of them is, what is the total number of tanks so far, and will it increase or will it remain the same? And the answer is, currently World of Tanks features more than 300 vehicles from the nations I mentioned before. So it doesn't actually say whether they're going to increase it, but I think 300 vehicles is a hell of a lot. I think some of them are only, if you're a premium member, I think you can only buy them if you are a premium member, so obviously I'm guessing that would be very limited how many are actually made premium. Probably about 40-30% of them would be premium, I would have thought. So then, like, one of the questions is, how realistic is it? And the official answer is, the game keeps the balance between realism and gameplay. World of Tanks is not a hardcore simulator. Gamers won't have to spend their time on getting used to the controls. The game's difficulty rests upon applying your tactical skills and coordinating moves with your teammates, which my personal answer would be, in reality it's not exactly the most realistic, but I think that's due to taking some of the if I take some of the words from the official answer, it's because there's so many different people playing the game and they've obviously all got different tactics. So realistically, I don't think it can be as realistic based on that, because obviously real tanks, like, everyone's trained pretty similar with them and they're trained with the similar tactics, whereas obviously on this game there's a massive community, so I think everyone will play differently. I don't think I've seen two people play exactly the same as each other. Obviously you can if you speak to your teammates and obviously coordinate your moves like it says in the official answer, but overall I think they've got it just realistic enough so that it's still enjoyable and you don't have to take ages to learn all the controls, etc. And then someone's asked, like, how long does an average battle last, and they've replied saying an average battle usually takes 5 to 10 minutes, which in my personal experience that is very true. Like, not many of them finish in the time, not many of them aren't finished by the time the time runs out. I said time so many times there, and I just said it a few more. And then if at the end of 15 minutes there are tanks of both teams on the battlefield and none of the bases have been captured, then a draw is declared. So you've got plenty of time to eliminate the other team or capture their base. I think if it is any longer it could go on for days, because sometimes if you only got a tank left on each side, like, they can be really tactical and like they'll only fire every now and again, which if the time limit was around sort of 25-30 minutes, then it could go on for ages. Now, you can leave the battle once you've been destroyed, which is quite good. It just means you cannot use that tank that you was using until it's out of that battle, so until that game's finished. You don't get rewarded down, as far as I'm aware, for leaving the game, and obviously it just allows you to use another tank and get back into the action, really. A draw can also occur when both teams manage to capture their enemy bases at the same time, but I am yet to see this, and I don't think there will be many of them, because obviously you'd literally have to get in at exactly the same time as your opponent and capture them. So a question is, for any newcomers that are watching this, do newbies get a chance to practice their skills in single battle missions, i.e. is there any practice mode, and is this mode available offline? And the answer to that is newbies get a chance to level up their skills and prepare for real battles during training. The game features special areas with tanks from Tier 1 and Tier 2 allowed. This helps newcomers get used to the gameplay and dynamics, which obviously is good enough training for you, because Tier 1 and Tier 2 is not exactly a horrific level. So obviously if you just went out into the open and didn't fire or hit anyone, you're probably going to get blown up because you'll get teamed up on. All of the training modes do take place online. All tanks that are on your team as well as the enemy team are driven by real players, and if you want to start a real battle, the in-game matchmaker balances the game so that first tiers do not meet opponents in the higher tiers. Now, you sometimes will get tier 2s, if you're a tier 1, but I think it's only about 3 or 4 of them get put in your game, so if you just avoid them, then you should be alright, as long as your tactics are sorted out well enough. And it says, since during the low tier battles it is virtually impossible to lose credits, and after every battle you gain experience, which allows you to slowly progress in the tech trees, which is where you upgrade your tanks. Someone's asked a question saying, does welder tanks support auto aiming? Which I didn't know this actually. The answer is the game features auto aiming, which allows shooting at a hostile unit with lead finding. To turn on auto aiming, move your sight on a hostile unit and press the right mouse button. Oh, that's quite a useful feature, I suppose. The auto aim function will automatically deactivate when the target is destroyed or becomes hidden, and it can also be deactivated manually. So that could be over abused a little bit, really. So I don't know whether I'm happy with that being in the game, but I haven't really noticed anyone destroy me that quickly from obviously aiming onto me and just sticking on me. The way you hide, by the way, you just literally get into a bit of cover and you're pretty much sorted then. It's not very often that you will stay in the sights of people if you manage to go behind cover, because it just unspots you, and then obviously if you get spotted again, then just go back into cover and it'll sort you out. So someone's asked, are there any machine guns in the game? And the answer to that is tanks have machine guns installed on them, but as long as there is no infantry, there's no need to use them in battles, because even the most powerful machine gun is not capable of penetrating the armour of a tank. Now, I've seen a few people on this game purely just look at the damage that their gun does to an opponent, and then they say how come it doesn't obviously damage the other person. And one of the main things you want to look for in your gun is the penetration, how many millimeters it penetrates into obviously your opponent's tank, because you could have a gun that's got about 200 damage but only about sort of 20-30 penetration. I think I exaggerated a little bit there, but you get what I'm saying. Um, Someone's asked an interesting question, like, what about ramming tactics or ramming attacks? And the answer is ramming attacks are a viable tactic in World of Tanks gameplay. The consequences of a ramming attack will depend on the tank masses, their speed, and which section of the ram vehicle gets hit. A common scenario is ramming a heavy tank into a light one. The latter won't stand a chance, and obviously there's a strategy involved. For instance, if you hit your opponent's tracks, you can immobilise the enemy for some time and thus make it an easy target for your teammates. So obviously that could also be used with if you're firing at someone, you could aim for their tracks and try and immobilise them so then they can't move out the way of you. And then obviously you can just keep shooting at them. So in terms of the maps, like someone said, are there any breakable elements on battlefields? How can destroying such elements influence the course of a battle? And from my personal experience, you can destroy buildings and stuff. Obviously, you need good penetration and damage to be able to knock down a building of certain sorts, and you can just drive through trees and stuff. But the official answer is there are lots of breakable elements. The high level of breakability will result in both positive and negative outcomes for everyone on the battlefield. You can perforate a wall or a building you're standing behind and use it as a firing port to shoot down your opponents, whereas on the other hand, the building you are hiding behind may suddenly become unexpectedly vulnerable. So we'll just do one more question off these frequently asked questions on the website, and this one's going to be for people that don't mind paying to help them progress in the game. Now the question is, how does the payment system work in World of Tanks? And the answer is, in World of Tanks, players have credits which they gain by taking part in battles and eliminating their enemies. As well as credits, there is gold that every player can purchase for real money. Now, spending gold can increase your game performance by buying gold consumables such as cases of cola or large repair kits, and gives you access to buying premium tanks such as the Low, which cannot be bought using credits. Some of the premium vehicles are available in the premium shop for direct purchases using real money, and possessing gold will result in some bonuses but will neither affect the gameplay for non-paying players, nor will it give paying players any decisive advantage in battles. And then another one, does the losing team get credits after a battle? And the answer to that is the losing team gets credits after a battle, but the total sum is less than if the team had won, which is obviously understandable. So I hope you've got a good idea about what the game is like, and I'll hopefully see you on the battlefield. Just try not to kill me, because I'm not exactly the greatest, as you probably noticed from watching me playing it. But I'm not exactly the worst, so oh well. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, or even share. I do have a Twitter account for the page. That is at Play the Corby Way, all in capital letters. And obviously my YouTube name, which I'm sure you'll know if you're watching this video, is Play the Corby Way. I've got many other videos such as Battlefield, etc. So feel free to watch them, and then it'd be great if you could share them to let other people see what they're like. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.